Good afternoon, everyone. It's Victoria Thomas in the training department. I also have John Ashley on the line from Terradatum.
Hello.
We're going to get into everything in just a second, but a couple of housekeeping things first. Everyone on the call is muted, so please locate that question panel in the GoToWebinar control panel. You can type in your questions there, and I'll be monitoring those throughout the next hour or so. This is being recorded, and we will send out the recording later this afternoon after the video processes. So if you want to go back and rewatch anything, you'll have the link to do that. Also, if anybody has not created their account yet for the Agent Metrics, the links to create your accounts were sent out in an email from digital marketing last Friday, I believe. Not this past Friday, but the Friday before that on the 1st. I will also include those links in the email that I send out later this afternoon with the recording of this video, and they will also be in the buzz later this afternoon as well. So with all of that, let's go ahead and get started. And John, if you want to take it away.
Sounds great. I'm John Ashley, product trainer at Terradatum. So thankful for everyone that's able to join the training today. We're going to be going through the Agent Metrics program. A couple goals I have in mind for each one of my trainings are to define your available tools, teach you how to navigate and search the different options, and then I want to be able to help you understand and use our key market indicators. You may hear me use that term KMI, key market indicators, a couple times. So just keep in mind that's what those are. And I'll be able to show you a little bit later how to be able to use them. So if you haven't downloaded or registered, just as Victoria mentioned on there, you can head over to the registration site, register and download Agent Metrics right here. If you have already registered, let's say you already have a login, when you put in your agent ID, it'll just take you to a download screen. But if you haven't yet, it'll have you create a username and password. So just go ahead and get that created and you'll be good to go from there. The program can be downloaded onto as many computers as you need. So if you have a work desktop or a work laptop and another computer in some other area, you can also use that as well. I'm just deleting that little Zoom shortcut. I try to keep my desktop kind of clean on here. I know everybody has different personality traits and that's mine. So you can see after you download the Agent Metrics program here, you can get it all opened up. I'm actually going to be logging in as one of your users, so the downtown staff on there. So please don't log in at the same time. You can only be logged in as a user onto one computer at a time is the only restriction. So there are 3 tools on your account. Market share is about the offices around you. So comparing FC Tucker to other offices or showing how your brokerage group compares to others. Market dynamics is about the market itself. So understanding what's occurring on the market, the increase or decrease in the market over time. This is so important while we have some uncertainty in the market, being able to identify what direction the month supply of inventory is heading, if it's a seller's market, if it's a buyer's market. You're going to want to be able to identify those KMI, those key market indicators, to make it so that you can show your seller or buyer and help them in their negotiation process. Also be able to help them identify what they should be doing currently, with your sellers, keep your home on the market or maybe remove it for a minute. Those kind of decisions are going to be helpful through the market dynamics tool. And then pricing analysis is all about it's all about pricing a home in that it connects extremely well with your CMA to be able to explain why a home should be priced in a particular price range and do some comparisons of homes around it. So I'm going to start here. Suzanne says she has no audio. I don't know if you can answer her just to say that I'm able to hear you and you can hear me for some people, but I did see that question on there that says I have no audio.
Yeah,
She may need to work on the her speakers on that side.
I responded to her in the chat.
I appreciate it. Thank you. So I'm going to open up this market share tool here. Just to start off with some office related reporting, I want to make it so that you can easily identify just some of the search features that you're going to have within the program. So first of all, your MLS should be MyBOR here. If you ever add another MLS onto the account, so if there's an Illinois site or something like that, MLS you add on, that could also be an option. The status option here allows you to change. Right now I have a total list plus sell, but you can do sold side, list side. under contract new listings, the currently for sale listings. This was always interesting, comparing what active listings each office has, and this is up to yesterday. So that brings up a good point. We update directly from the MLS itself every single day. So all this information is going to be fresh up to yesterday that you're comparing here. Property types on here, you notice all these different property types should look very similar to what you can use within MyBore. And then area types here, you have counties, cities, MLS areas, quite a few different area types. Again, all of them should look very similar to what you have within the MyBore MLS. And while I'm going through a couple of these other things, if someone wants to throw in a chat box, maybe a city or a county that they'd like to take a look at, I'd love to be able to do a little bit more individualized searching. So be sure to put that into the chat box if you have a particular area you want to view. And yes, it is only available on Windows and Mac at this time. Unfortunately, it's not usable on a Chromebook. You do have to have a computer with a full operating system, unfortunately. We are looking at building more and more web-based tools, and that's something that we're working on currently, and hopefully in the future, Agent Metrics will all be moved to a web-based system. But right now, you do have to have it on either a Mac or Windows. Linux also works, but you just have to be a Linux user. And it looks like the first answer there was Carmel. I saw Noblesville on there too, so I'll hit Noblesville here in just a bit, but let's do Carmel first. And let me just choose a property type on here. Let's just start with single family. I'll choose the city of Carmel or Carmel. You can tell I'm from Kansas City here. So let's grab your city. You notice other options: bedrooms, bathrooms, price range, date ranges here, year to date. The program goes back to a little over 3.25 years, excuse me. And so you can see data going back 3 years time as well if you need to search a little bit of distance on there. But let's just keep it year to date right now. See what's going on for your office compared to others. Price range is really nice if you're trying to show luxury listings or a particular medium price range, things like that. And then also construction type here. All of these searches can easily be saved. Just click save at the bottom. Maybe I'll just call this my Carmel search here. Carmel search. Someone can tell me later how to actually pronounce that properly. So
We say it Carmel around here.
Carmel, thank you. And so you can come up here to the Carmel search here. Gonna make me hungry as I keep talking about it over and over again. So, and then so you can have all your saved searches as well. And thank you so much. I appreciate the clarity on that. Let's go ahead and search. So you'll notice FC Tucker, the #1 and #2 offices in the Carmel area. That's great. Green is almost always list side, yellow is almost always sell side. Let me go through a couple navigational items just to help you get around the program here. So like most tools out there, there's a file at the top with print preview, print, email as PDF, save as PDF, and export. This export is to a CSV type file. That's an Excel type file. We also have some shortcuts here that do the same thing: print preview, print, export to that CSV, and email as PDF. Tools allows you to switch back and forth between your different tools. So right now we're running an office report, and let's say we want to run a market report instead. We'll just come up to tools and click on market dynamics to switch over to our market report system here. Search and then custom search takes you back to your search box. So if I wanted to switch this up and do Noblesville instead of Carmel here, I can make it an easy adjustment and then click search again. Preferences is where you can change your password. My options under preferences is where you can add an email signature. So if the downtown staff wanted to have an email signature, if they ever email a PDF out to someone, just get it added on there. They can also add a company logo. That way in all of their printouts and PDF files, you can have an FC Tucker logo on the top left. Do a little bit of reporting on there, a little bit of marketing. All of these reports are going to have, whether they're a chart or a grid, are going to have details you can add onto the report. They are almost always the top of the page. For example, average price is an option here, days on market. If you ever wonder how we calculate an item or how it's defined, you could always hover your mouse and it'll give you a short definition of what it is. So like producing agent's current search is the number of members with at least one transaction side that meets the search criteria. So essentially, how many agents did it take to create the production that you see down below? So 41 agents created this production. This view section is going to be one of your best friends in the program. Easily get you around to different types of reports, whether that's list side or sell side, even sold price to original price reports both on the list side and the sell side. This grid selection here, this calendar looking button, makes it so you can see all the data in a grid form. You may notice the top 10 offices are showing up in red. You may notice one non-BLC office. That's how the MLS treats all non-members, is they just put them under a couple categories similar in name to this one. So I just removed that off of my my graph by left clicking to turn it black, and then I will left click others to turn them red to make it so that we can see on here these different offices. It looks like Shelly is continuing to have some sound issues. It's unfortunate on there. Sorry, Shelly. Hopefully you'll be able to hear the rebroadcast on there, the replay of the recording here. So be able to select which offices you want. What's nice about the view section is that when you adjust it, it also will adjust the grid as well. So close to list ratio, sold price to original price, all kinds of great details. So on the list side, when you're showing why your office is better than the other offices, you want to show them that the sold price to original price is higher, meaning that you're able to maintain the value of the home better than your competition there. On the sell side, you want it to be, so when you're listing a home, you want it to be a higher percentage showing, so I already said that, maintain the price on the sell side. So I said it right the first time, sorry about that. You want to be able to have a lower one showing that you're able to negotiate a better price for the buyer. So a lot of great details you can pull in here. One more report you can run I want to show you real fast. If I come up here and I choose broker instead of office, and click search, you can see that FC Tucker is the #1 brokerage here. Now on the agent related side, you're probably wondering, how is this going to help me? The honest truth is that when you are marketing yourself, you're also marketing the office that you're coming from. And so being able to explain that FC Tucker is the best when it comes to days on market or sold price to original price, be able to show that you're the #1 office for a particular region, those kind of details are really going to help associate people with you and with the benefits and the structure of FC Tucker. So you want to make sure that they identify you. Well, if they are already identifying your office with success, then they're going to identify you with success as well. So a lot of great resources, a lot of great details. If there's any office managers on the call, this is a great program for office managers as well, to be able to show how your office is doing and being able to help build marketing resources. So a lot of great details on here. On the agent side, you probably won't be in this tool the most compared to other tools on there, but I want you to be able to use it. I want you to be able to easily market your office and essentially yourself as well. So let's head over to the Market Dynamics tool next. The Market Dynamics tool helps answer that age-old real estate question, the question that you get probably everywhere you go when you tell someone you're a real estate agent, and that is, what's the market doing, or how's the market doing? And normally, of course, you could probably look at some social media reporting, or normally you could watch the nightly news and be able to get some of those details gleaned from that. And then also sometimes MLSs or other companies will have, quarterly reports, or maybe some of them have monthly reports as well that kind of explain what's occurring on the market right now. But really, truly, if you want to be an expert on the market, Market Dynamics is going to be the best tool for you. And not only an expert, but be able to give expert advice to your sellers and to your buyers, be able to explain to them how the market's doing. And you know what, if it's if the market is more of a buyer side market, you'd be able to explain, well, we have a little bit more negotiating power in this circumstance. Let's try to use that to our best benefit. But if it's a seller's market, understand there might be a couple people putting in bids on that house. So maybe you don't want to try to ask for that new water heater. Say, well, okay, the water heater that is still working, let's leave it as is for now in our negotiations. So those kind of details are going to be very beneficial. And let's take a look at single family. And I'm going to choose the city of Noblesville this time. So an easy way to jump down to a group is just to click on your keyboard. You hear that on there quite loud. I did that purposely. And that will take me down to the letter that I need. I just click the letter N to get down here, and here's Noblesville. Just double click it to move it right, click OK. And let's just start with an easy 2-year monthly report, single family search for Noblesville. Right now, I'm only going to be looking at another question came in real quick. Let's see if I can read it. When I go to download this, do I download broker metrics or agent metrics? That's an excellent question. Let me go through that just really fast. It actually, you'll want to download agent metrics. That's the proper program on there. But if you accidentally download broker metrics, it's perfectly okay. The login itself is going to be based upon the username and password that you put in, not based upon which one you download. So in the end, it really doesn't matter which one you download. It'll take you to the same place no matter what. But it is good if you can have agent metrics download on them properly. That way you know exactly which program that you're working with, especially if you call in and have questions, things like that. Great question. Thank you so much. So let me go back to this real quick. One thing that I'm going to do real fast, and you'll notice right now I have 2 months selected. I have the month of April 2018 selected, and I have the month of April 2020 selected. And so let's say instead of those 2 months that you would prefer to have April 2019 versus April 2020. Well, that's an easy enough adjustment on there. And I'm sorry, I'm moving the go-to meeting box out of my way just for a second so I can be able to click on this. Sorry about that. There we go. So what I'll do is I'll click on April 2019. This pop-up box is just explaining how to do this. And then what I'll do is I'll push Shift and then left click to be able to have both those months selected. And you can see down here at the bottom that the sold price went up 20%, 20.2% between April 2019 versus April 2020. And so it's showing that there's an increase in the median price for the entire the Noblesville single family market. I can even choose down here at the bottom left if I want to do the whole time period instead of just the begin and end of the month. So I can see over the entire 12-month period here that the median price has gone up 12.8%. So that's a good amount of increase when you're looking at the market as a whole. This is Noblesville single family, good amount of median price increase. You'll notice a couple months, of course, took a little bit of a dip, and we'll notice last year probably similar. Actually, November really jumped up there. That's quite interesting. And then slowly went down once again into March and then started to rise back up. So kind of the ebb and flow of the market over the 2-year period. And this is the sold listings. You can add even more details, those KMIs, key market indicators, onto this chart just by selecting them in the top left. So for example, under contracts here, you can see that having a record median price over these last 2 years for the month of April, that's great. Just shows an increase in the value of the market. Just taking a look at that under contract period, we can select up to 3 at a time. So I just remove sold real quick so we can look at the for sale active inventory number and then also the expired number as well. And one thing that you may notice on here compared to some months, and not every month, I mean most months though, the under contract number and the expired number are usually a pretty good distance away from each other. That's excluding January when many listings are taken off the market during January, usually because they're expiring out and then being relisted in February or March. But you'll notice it's a little bit closer in April. And I want to bring that point up just to identify that we understand that there is some uncertainty in the market right now where we're all dealing with COVID-19 in different ways, depending on what state you're in. And part of that could be that there are people removing their houses on the market that normally wouldn't be removing their houses on the market. So for example, you have a family that they are not a go and show situation. They may not want to have buyers coming through their home, or they may not want to have buyers agents coming through, even if it's a virtual tour. Totally understandable. And so those listings may be temporarily withdrawn off the market. And so expired there not only includes expired, but it also includes withdrawn and temporarily off the market as well. So just want to make sure that that's clear and so that you understand why there might be a little bit closer pricing between now what's expiring and what actually is on the inventory or under contract when it comes to pricing range here. So this also might be a good item on here to notice if you do have a go and show or a situation like that. You notice that the pricing is similar, so you don't want to immediately think I have to make a quick price change just because expired listings are the same price right now. You'll notice it did take a nice decrease though. That's a good thing over this 12-month period. So a 1% decrease in expired on there. Just again, just looking at the market as a whole. This is the median price. I like median price because it removes what I like to call unicorn listings from the market. Those, when you talk about those $1 million houses in the $100,000 neighborhood, we include average sold as well. Again, view section here, your best friend. So if you prefer average sold over median, that is also an option. You may notice as I hover over each month, it'll give me a little bit different details for each one. So, and don't forget, there's also a grid selection if you prefer to see the data as is instead of seeing it on the bar chart. The sold price to original price comparison is extremely important, but it's also very interesting in that the dark blue is if a home had no price changes on it compared to if it did have price changes. And so the average sold price to original price for the entire period here, if it had no price changes, was at 98.7%. Can we change the bar colors? Unfortunately, not at this time. That is an enhancement we are looking into for the future though, but that is an excellent question. And can this be broken down to specific agent stats? Unfortunately not. The purpose of this program is to look at as a market as a whole, not to do individual agent stats. Your brokers may have access to a program called Broker Metrics, which does allow you to break down the individual agent statistics, but they will have to run those reports for you, unfortunately. We do have another product if you're looking as a single agent just wanting to compare yourself to the market. We do have a product called Agent Scorecard, which will monthly send you an agent scorecard that compares you to the MLS, to your office, to the top 5% of the, top 20% of the entire MLS, and then also to the nation as a whole. So if you want individual statistics, a great report on there, check out Agent Scorecard sometime. Great question. So looking back at the report, if it did need price changes, it jumps down to 93.2%. So if I'm explaining this to a seller and trying to explain what the danger of overpricing a home, I would say on here, look, on average, if we price it properly, on average, we may see around a 1% change in price. It may go down 1%. Okay, that's okay. If we overprice the home though, just immediately take 7% off whatever price you thought you were going to get, which could be tens of thousands of dollars, especially if you're dealing with a luxury listing. And so just keeping that in mind with them, just think, okay, we overprice this, we're going to be in the danger of one, not being able to show the home as often, and then two, we're going to have to take the price down eventually anyways through a price change, which means your listing will be on the market even longer. Here in a little bit, I'm going to show you a report that shows why that's dangerous and why you want to keep that in mind. So we have a report here, sold price to list price. That's usually a little closer. And then this one is great. This is sold price to original price on whether it had a price change or not. And what I'll do is I like to add the average line on here to see what the average is for the entire market. So in Noblesville single family, if you are above 96.3% sold price to original price, that you are better than the average of the market as an agent. So great statistic, being able to a little bit of marketing yourself as well on there, especially if you're talking to a potential seller. And then we also include average square feet, which also can include under contract, for sale, details like that as well. So all those great resources to be able to break down pricing. Supply and demand is an excellent report to look at, especially while we're dealing with the COVID market. Now, you do understand, of course, that there's an ebb and flow of active inventory throughout the year, but what you'll notice is that usually, and we can see this last year, in March, April, May, we start seeing the inventory going in upward motion. This year, not so much. The active inventory that is occurring on the market during March and April are actually down quite a bit, and they're the lowest that they have been over this entire 2-year period for the month of April. So the active inventory, and part of that is expireds, but you notice it's not a huge amount of expired listings, maybe not as much as some people expected. I heard all kinds of different stats about how 10% of the market was going to be removed or something, huge like that. Nothing like that. It's not a horrible amount of expireds, and actually is a little bit less than it was the year before. But a portion of that is that the resupply of the market is just not occurring as much as it did in the previous years. So we can see April 2018, there was a huge resupply of the market in April and May, the same last year. And this year, you're seeing in April here, not as many listings are being added on, even though listings are still going under contract and selling. So we can look at those details on there and then identify some of the reasons why the inventory may be lower. And this will affect other areas, and I'll show you just in a second, but wanted to show that supply and demand feature here. So the supply is definitely down, but the demand is still there. And I like to look at not just sold on here, but also under contract. Sold really are those listings that are coming to their eventual end. I understand that it's looking at consumer demand with sold, but those listings probably went under contract in January, February, even March here, and then came to their eventual sold end. Well, under contract is showing current demand, that there are still people out there looking at homes, putting them under contract. And so I like to look at, for current demand, those under contract numbers. This next section is for sale versus for sale last day of the month. This looks at, so for sale, there's a lot of different companies, maybe even the MLS has reporting on what was for sale or what was active during the month of April. And that's an important statistic to know, but the key feature on here is that for sale last day of the month. The reason for that is because for sale just shows you that it was active at some point during the month of April. It could have expired, went under contract, it could have sold, but at some point could have been removed from the market. While for sale last day of the month really gives you an idea of how much inventory moved over into the month of May. And so if we compare that to last year, when we had 226 for sale listings, single family, compared to this year, which was 167. So about 60 listings down. So that's quite a bit of a difference on there in the total active inventory moving over into the month of May. Sales rate on here, which I mentioned this a little bit earlier on here, that month supply of inventory, so important for trying to identify if it's a buyer's or seller's market. For those that don't understand month supply of inventory, the way that you calculate this out, so for the month of April here, it shows 1.2. So what that means is that if no new listings were added after the month of April, that it would take 1.2 months for the current inventory leaving the month of April, take 1.2 months for it to deplete that inventory that's going under contract. So that would indicate that it's a seller's market. Even more of a seller's market than it was last year, barely, but still more of a seller's market than it was last year. That could essentially affect May, as we have seen less inventory moving over into the month of May, which could mean, since listings are still going under contract, the listings are still selling, that could mean that it's even more of a seller's market than months previously, and then we'll have to watch if that trend continues, or if it's going to be like last year, where it started off as definitely a seller's market, slowly moving up closer and closer to a buyer's market. Didn't get to the point technically to where it's a buyer's market. It's usually identified as 5 months on the market, month supply of inventory, but it did go pretty high up to 2.7 months when you hit to the fall here, compared to where it started. See average days on market. So how many days until it goes under contract? You'll notice for those listings that went under contract in April, they were on the market 42 days. Just a couple days difference than last year. Sales absorption, how much of the market's being absorbed. Going back to the active inventory on there, we can see how much of the market was absorbed these 2 months, which goes back to why we have a little bit lower active inventory overall. And then CDMO breakdown here. This is for sale last month. I want to look at under contracts just for a second here. This is an amazing statistic, and this is a great report to pull, especially when you have a seller who just does not want to make a price change on a home. You know, we've all run into those people. This is the price of my home. This is where I'm going to leave it at. Well, I like to show them and go, look, 0 to 90 days, you have over 90% of your home selling in that time period on there. If it lasts more than 90 days on the market, you're getting maybe 5% of the total on here of listings that are actually selling after going under contract after that. and even less than that if it's on the market 180 days plus. So while it's important for you to be able to get the value that you believe that you should receive out of your home, it's also important to remember that if you're not making those price changes, you're not making those needed adjustments, and it starts getting closer and closer and longer on the market, the less likely it will be that the listing will go under contract and then sell. So it's just one of those things you want to bring up, especially if you have someone that's pretty hard-nosed about leaving the price where it's at. So I'm going to make one adjustment here in my searching, and one type of report that we run that's a little different than a lot of other companies out there is because we update daily, we have the ability to run weekly reports instead of just monthly reporting. And during an uncertain market, this is more important than probably it's ever been, where looking at week over week how the market's changing, both in pricing, but also in supply and demand, and understanding where the consumer demand is going, understanding where the resupply of the market's occurring, and how many listings are expiring out. So you'll notice it really probably hasn't changed too much over that. The end of April, we had a couple listings, but the expired listings on here didn't really change too much. What really has changed for this market is the current supply and the new listings being added on, where there's not a huge number of new listings being added on, while listings are still, though, going under contract every single week, which not a bad thing for your seller. It means that there is less inventory for buyers to review, even though the demand is still there for homes to go under contract and then to sell. It may not be as high of a demand as what we've seen sometimes in years previously, but it is still a pretty high demand, especially when we're looking at the market as a whole. So being able to pull up these weekly reports, explain to your seller, it's going to be okay. You don't need to remove your listing immediately. The demand is still there. Listings are still going under contract. It's also the fact that your listing is more likely to be seen during this time period, just because listings are still going under contract and there's less inventory. So those kind of details are going to be extremely helpful as you're talking to your seller on there. And I had a question, how did I get to the weekly report? I headed back to my search button, big magnifying glass here, and for time period, I chose weekly instead of monthly. So I chose 6-month weekly report on here. And one of the benefits also of updating daily, while some different companies they'll update a monthly report, but they only update once a month. So let's say they updated on the 5th. Well, on the 6th, 7th, and 8th, you have agents that'll come in and they'll mark their listings sold or under contract for the previous month because they've forgotten the MLS to go and make that adjustment. It happens all the time. And so those different numbers are not going to be pulled into their reporting. For our numbers, you're going to see a daily adjustment based upon any adjustments that are made after that time period. So if someone on the 15th here said, oh yeah, my listing sold on the 10th, and then they mark it sold in the MLS for the 10th, it'll adjust that for this week as well. So you'll be able to see those adjustments. It's also why the reporting may change just slightly, increasing on there just because of the constant updates that we do on there. So great question. So just so many details you can pull into this about how the market's doing, be able to understand the market as a whole, and then also being able to make the best decisions and bring the best examples for your potential buyers or sellers on there. You know, it's all about being able to communicate with them about how the market's doing, and it comes down again to that age-old question of how the market is doing overall. Let's see here. I have a question. Are there numbers available for commercial properties? So because our information comes directly from the MLS itself, we do have commercial listings, but it's going to only be the commercial listings that appear in the MLS, which let's just run a 6-month all MLS report real quick, see what we get for that. So you'll notice we do have some sold listings in there. It's just not a huge number. So only about 10 to 15 a week are selling that are commercial listings, which that's actually more than I expected to see. There's some MLSs that really, the commercial listings are really not put on the MLS at all. So that's actually a pretty good number for MLS listings all over the entire MLS. So you do have commercial listings available within that MLS. Great question. Just double checking to make sure that there's no other questions that popped in that I missed. Okay,
No,
I
I
haven't
think
seen
you've
anything.
got everything, John.
Okay, so one last tool to hit, and I'll go through this rather quickly. And let's see here. Maybe we can do a zip code or maybe an MLS area. Does someone have a subdivision that they'd like to hit or something like that? I did Noblesville, I did Carmel. Just give you a second to put that in. If you don't know, it's okay. I'll just choose a subdivision. And this is pricing analysis, going back on there to looking at and comparing with your CMA why you should be pricing a home at a particular range. So I'll just choose a subdivision on there, no big deal. I'll choose Twin Oaks, not one I know well or anything like that. It's just one that I'm going to choose. And I am going to pretend I know pricing for this area because of course I am from Kansas City, so I have no idea. So I'll just choose 350 here and let's see if I'm even close. I'll run my search here. Oh, not too bad. I'm just a little off here. So let me go ahead and go back one step. I think I have, are there numbers available? Let's see here. Are commercial properties differentiated? Great question too. So if you look, there is a section for multifamily and then there are other classes of commercial as well. So yes, they are differentiated as much as what the MLS will be able to provide us. So that's a great question. I'm just going to increase my range increment on here and do this by 20,000. So I'll do 350 up to 370. So I can include a good number of listings that sold within that range. And when I am initially developing this report, whether you know an area or you don't know an area rather well, I always like to start here on the distribution of prices. And I like to head over to the grid selection because I can go through some of the key features of these homes and identify if my home should be in the range I believe it should be in. So for example, 350 to 370 had 5 or more bedrooms. Okay, let's pretend my house has 6 bedrooms. Let's say bathrooms here, 3 or more bathrooms. Okay, I have 4.5 baths, so I meet that category. 4 to 5,000 square feet or 3 to 4,000 square feet. Maybe I'm right in the middle. 4,021 square feet. So I'm right in the middle between the two here. And then at least, so less than 1 acre worth of land. And let's just say I'm pretty close to an acre on there. So let's just say I check marked all these boxes just for pretending's sake on this instance. If I didn't check mark these boxes, it could be that I need to look at a different price range. Maybe I should be closer to the 110 to 130 and I just accidentally put a 3 there instead of a 1. I know I've done that before, just an incorrect click on there and you go, oh, no, I'm in the wrong place. I should be up here in 110 to 130. And then you can check mark the box here for what that home has compared to the other homes around it. So I'm pretending for the moment this fits my category. This is what I want. There's nothing currently under contract or for sale in that particular area, which was Twin Oaks, single family. So I'm just going to move forward from here and see, okay, I do have 10 listings though that sold within my range, 350 to 370. Heading over to market size, we can identify that most of the homes in the area sold at a little bit lower rate the year previously. So more homes were selling in the 310 to 330 to last year compared to this year, though it's not that far off from where it was last year in my range. But it's just identifying that maybe a little bit higher priced homes are being looked at a little bit more often in this area right now. Market pricing, I can see that the median price did go down by several thousand, a couple $10,000 there, maybe almost $20,000. And so there definitely was a decrease in price. Oh, it's right here, $19,900 difference in median price. Keeping that in mind, especially if I'm talking to my seller and they really feel like their home is in the 375, 380 range, you can say, well, the median price has gone down by quite a bit in your area. And so I really feel more comfortable with this particular region right here for selling your home. We want to make sure that it has a decent amount of days on market without it being, we want it to have a small amount of days on market. That's what I meant by decent, was small, but while at the same time being able to maintain a good value. So, and that's where this target pricing tool is really going to be helpful. So what the green dots represent on here, each one of these are sold listings that occurred in my range, that 350 to 370. And as I hover over each one, you'll identify some key features on here about each home. So each one again represents a listing. Couple things I may want to do before I get too far into this. I want to head back to my grid and just make sure that there's no listings on here that really don't compare to my home. So, maybe there's this new construction listing right here, 2019. Though in this instance, maybe you want to keep it because you want to show them, yeah, 417 is way too high for this market, even for a listing that is brand new. This listing has had 11 price change on it. That's huge, and it's been on the market 125 days. Wow, this new construction listing is really just not, this was just pretty way overpriced for the area, unfortunately. So you may want to keep it on there to leave it as a good example, or you may want to remove it if it isn't a good example of your particular, compared to your home. Same thing here with this 2019 house, that it started off at 398 and went down to 359. Again, 3 price changes on it, 103 days on market. It could just be it's definitely overpriced for the area, far overpriced for the area. And so it finally sold at 352 on there. So interesting that even though they have new construction listings, that they are still selling at a same price range on here as the other homes that are a couple years older. Not too many years older, but still they're not new listings. They would be resales. This will be especially important when you head over to your second report, which is the sold price to original price comparison. Again, mapping out each one of these homes on here. And so as I'm talking to a seller, what I like to do is I like to point out different houses and go, okay, this dot right here, it was on the market only 26 days. They started off at 375, ended at 365, okay? I know you really feel like your home should be in the 380s, 386, 387. But as we compare homes in this area, we really should be in the 360s on there, especially since the median price has changed by over 19,000, almost $20,000 in this particular region. Plus, you'll notice every single house that sold here had at least one or more price changes. They all started off at 383 in the average price here, and it all ended up around 361 with an average of 76 days on the market. So that's over 2 months worth of house payments that they still had to do while they're waiting for their house to sell. And in the circumstance where it was a new construction listing, 125 days on the market, if that was a resale, you're talking about at least 4 months, not even including the under contract period. So 4 months, maybe even 5 or 6 months of house payments that they have to worry about while their listing is sitting there overpriced and not able to sell. So square footage here, a little higher than what I was talking about. I said 4,021 feet. We have one additional bedroom and we have a little bit more bathroom space on there compared to the average for this area. So, I would talk to them, okay, let's not take it at 361. Let's start it off at 366 or 367. I know that's far under what you thought that you would be getting for your listing, that you really thought that you would be looking at this price here, the 380 range on there. But I want you to see on here these listings that have been pretty long on the market that did finally sell. Both of those were brand new listings, and yet they were not able to sell at a brand new rate. They sold at 360, and then the other one on there sold at 359. And they started off at 400 and 417. So if a brand new listing with more square footage, maybe the same number of bedrooms or similar to it. So in this circumstance, you have an additional bedroom. But the point is if a brand new home with a lot more square footage, this one had 4,700 square footage, was not able to sell at that higher rate on there, and one had to have 11 price changes on it to get to 360, then you feel like in this circumstance it would be better to be price the home at a lower rate, even if they do have the golden doorknobs. So looking at this, you can really easily explain to a seller why you believe they should start off at 367. And then within 30 days, if you're not seeing as many showings as you would like to see, take it down to maybe 363, 364, get a couple more showings in there, maybe even be able to see about negotiating a slightly higher price if you have more than one person that's willing to take a look at the house. So A couple great features on there, and I did that all within a subdivision search of Twin Oaks. So very interesting searching. You do have an option for bedrooms and bathrooms, square footage and lot size, especially if you're trying to do like a school district or a zip code. For example, my particular MLS didn't have a very good subdivision for my particular region, so I had to do it by zip code. And so what I did by zip code on there, I chose my school district, and then I put in a square footage, and then also selected a couple bedrooms, a couple bathrooms on there, just so I could have a couple options. So I actually use this tool on the buy side as well to be able to identify what would be overpriced in this area and then what also would be underpriced for this area, so that I was able to negotiate a better deal. And of course, you start low, understanding that they're probably going to go high. That's just how negotiation processes start. But in the end, I was able to negotiate the right price for my home instead of overpaying just based upon being enamored with the home. So great tool, sell side, buy side. I haven't seen any new questions come in. If you have any questions, problems, concerns, anything at all, first of all, we have the big question mark at the top of the page. That's going to take you to our Brokermetrics user guide. Our user guide, if I can drag this over, there we go, includes full-length videos you can watch. There's also small sections in here that you can just read through and learn how to use different parts of the program. We also have an excellent customer support staff that's here Monday through Friday from 8 to 6. Very happy to answer any questions you might have. It's a toll-free call. Give them a call anytime. Email our support team anytime you have questions too. Also, I want to mention real quick, if you are wanting to sign up for any of our other webinars that we have webinars that we run weekly, sometimes even more than sometimes bi-weekly on there. Just head over to terradatum.com, our homepage on here, and you'll see it says training and support here in the top right. And so you can sign up for live webinars, whatever you like. We actually had 2 webinars today, one about Ergo and one about our newest program, Ergo, and one about another new program we have called Listing Home Run for checking out listing videos. So, and there's a lot of great resources on here. I'm actually going to be going over again. So this is for Brokermetrics, but I'm going to be going over Agent Metrics again with generating a market update, specifically dealing with market dynamics. So if you want more training, we have those resources as well. And I understand that this video is also going to be, it is recorded, so it's also going to be linked to your, I think it's your intraweb, your intralink.
I'll send it out later in an email to everyone.
Excellent. I appreciate it. So thank you so much for everyone that was able to attend. Has any new questions come in just yet? Oop, here we go. A couple questions. Is there a way to add any of these graphs to a CMA in Matrix? Unfortunately, I don't know exactly how your CMA feature works within each MLS vendor, such as Matrix. It can be downloaded as a PDF. So if you're able to upload PDFs into Matrix, then yes, it can be as added into a portion of your CMA. Or of course, you can print it out as its own separate item on there. Just have it as a printed feature that you can take with you. Great question. Let's see here. Where can we find the agent scorecard program I mentioned? Just reach out to our customer support and they would be happy to show you some pictures of what it looks like and be able to explain how it works. And then you can just sign up for it on your own. Each agent can sign up for themselves, that you don't have to have your company request it for you. So, and then I just ran my own subdivision. Is there a missing data from October on? I don't believe so, but if you could clarify which subdivision you're looking at, we could take a quick look at it. Just go ahead. If you could just write your subdivision in that questions there. And this is something that you'll go through with our customer support team. If you ever have questions like this, they'll jump on and they'll take a look at it for you as well. Admiral Point, Admiral Sound, and Admiral's Bay. So I like to bring this up here. I'm going to head over to market dynamics real quick. What I want to see is, okay, what type of production is being completed in those different areas? So one thing to keep in mind about subdivisions is that sometimes they have different names. So be sure to select all of them that may be included on there. Admiral Bay, Admiral Sound. I don't know if Admiral's Cove should be in there too, but I'll just do those 3. Click OK. I'm going to choose all property types. I just want to make sure that we have the right property type identified for this. I'll do a 2-year monthly report so we can look over the past 2 years, 2 months. Yeah, 2 years here. I said it right. So there is listings still selling. You'll notice after October, some listings continue to go under contract. But unfortunately, here, let me look at 3-year quarterly too on here. So it looks like that after Q4 on here, I haven't seen anything new come in. If you are able to identify any new listings in those areas since December here, just come to our contact our customer support, and they'll be able to look into it in a little bit deeper searching. So be sure to try, if you can, if you have any listing examples, such as the address of the home or the MLS ID, listing ID, those kind of examples will really help us track down on a data related note on there why there may be some missing space on here. But as far as I could tell, nothing has sold within that listing after November 2019. Just one listing sold. When printing reports, let me look at that real quick. When printing reports, is agent information printed with name, photo, etc.? Unfortunately not. Do apologize for that. You can save this as a PDF though and add any details you would like. For this, what it does is it just prints it out with your search on it, with your search feature on here, your company name, and then any logos that you add on there. So I mean, if you want to put your photo in for a logo with your name on the photo, I know some people have like their own personalized logo. If you want to add that into the left-hand side instead, you can do that as well. So that is something you can add in. Earlier in Analyze Homes based on the original price versus homes with price reductions, where the LP-SP ratios the home with price reductions based on the original list price or the list price at the time of the sale. So great question. On this sold price to list price, this was looking at the original price that it was marked at, the new listing price, versus the final list price before it went under contract. So that's SP to LP. And then, excuse me, OP here. OP is original price when it was originally priced. SP, of course, is the final sold price. And then looking at SP LP, so final sold price versus the price right before it went under contract. Can marketing create templates to customize for agents? So this is a question for you, not for me.
I was just going to reply to her, Alice. My suggestion would be to just ask marketing to do a custom marketing piece, and they could create like a logo with your name and information, and then you could upload it, like John said, like as a logo. So I would just request a custom marketing piece from the marketing department.
Yeah, and it can be a PNG file or a JPEG or anything like that. We make it pretty open for what type of photo you can upload into there. So you're welcome, Alice. Okay. I don't see any further questions coming in just yet. I think I hit everything.
Awesome. I think you did too. We would just strongly recommend to everybody to get in there, start running reports. Your managers and the admin in your offices have already had a bit of training on this. So if you have any questions, you can go to them as well. And I think that looks like it might be it, unless anybody has any other questions for John. All right, well, like I said, I will send this out a little bit later this afternoon. I have to let the video process, and then I'll send that out with all of the links and things that we've talked about as well. But other than that, thanks so much, John, and I hope that everybody has a great rest of their afternoon.
You're welcome, and everybody have a happy and healthy week.
Awesome. All right, thanks. Bye, everybody.